Hello everyone! Houses in a concrete pipe, in a cave, in a silo, houses made from beer cans. You won't believe that you can actually live in such places until you take a peek inside. Let's get it on. Meet the smallest house in the world. The owner, Glenn, is not one of those who needs a lot of stuff and luxury. What he really appreciates is the freedom of movement his unusual home gives him. A house like that can be easily placed in an ordinary van and moved anywhere in just a couple of hours. The area of the tiny house is slightly less than 2.5 square meters. Nevertheless, it has a sink, a gas stove, and a functional sewer. It also features a wind turbine and a wastewater collection system for watering plants. Oh, yes, you might wonder where the restroom is. Here it is, in this hole covered with a frisbee. How'd you like this idea? Spending the night in the belly of a giant beagle. Doesn't sound too exciting, and actually this hotel looks pretty peculiar. However, the artists Dennis Sullivan and Francis Conklin from Cottonwood really love it, and believe it or not, numerous guests appreciate it too. The owners of the mini hotel in the shape of a 30-foot beagle don't suffer from a lack of guests. Moreover, for a moderate fee, guests receive not only accommodation in a themed room, but also access to a bunch of local exhibitions all dedicated to dogs, as well as the chance to purchase charming handmade souvenirs. Another guy who challenges stereotypes, like the one that only vagrants might want to live under bridges. Look what he came up with. It's sort of a living box that you can manually pull from one beam of the bridge to another. On the other side, there's a chair and a table hanging in the air, fitting like puzzle pieces and forming a living space. Of course, this isn't a real functional house. After all, you still need to use the restroom, wash and cook, though this box wasn't intended to be a real home. Rather, an alternative way to find solitude in a big city and get a place where no one will definitely find you. For some, the word caveman might be an insult, but Angelo Mastropietro from the UK won't be offended by it. He invested $230,000 in a house he built in a real cave with his own hands. And no, it doesn't look like a Neanderthal's lair at all. It's quite a modern house with a cool interior, heating, electricity, and wireless internet. By the way, you don't feel isolated from the world here. Angelo also made apertures in the walls for windows. Actually, living here is almost no different from living in a cool penthouse. Did you expect that someday you'd dream of living in a cave? When you look at this strange house, you probably have many questions. Who would live here? How is it built? And finally, what does the cow have to do with it? The story behind this place is so weird that it sounds more like a strange dream of some crazy architect. To build this stone house in Spain, which the creators proudly called the Truffle, they put 660 pounds of hay in an earth pit in a special order to outline the layout of the interior. Then they poured the concrete above, and that's where the cow came into play. The animal, who was still a calf at that time, ate all of the hay inside. The cow finished its work when it was already a mature animal. After that, the hardened truffle was turned upside down so that the beautiful earthen patterns remained on the ceiling. And as a result, we got a very unusual yet cozy home with a stunning view. While a cave or a piece of stone may still be a viable option for living, settling in a dumpster doesn't seem to have any appeal. Turns out that you can create a semblance of comfort and coziness even in a bleak container. Of course, the area is quite small, slightly more than 32 square feet, but you'll find everything you need here. A bed, storage space, a shower, a refrigerator, a toilet bowl, and even a washing machine. This place is home to a very respectable person, a university professor. Spending the night at a barn doesn't sound like the best idea ever. But believe us, some barns are not like the rest. This place, for example, will impress you more than many 5-star hotels. A lot of space, a cozy fireplace, authentic materials. What else do you need for an amazing weekend? Maybe a chance to meet some celebrity. By the way, it's also a part of the program. This farm is home to the world-famous pig Picasso, who sells his paintings all over the world. If you stay in this place, you can admire the exhibition of these masterpieces and also commission a painting from the pig artist. Some people hear the word tent and flinch. Others think camping life is pretty romantic. But everyone will surely appreciate this invention. A new generation tent that has a design life of 10 years and can withstand a Category 4 hurricane. To set up this shelter, you only need air and water. It takes just 2 hours. However, before moving in, you'll have to wait a day until the special concrete structure hardens. 344 square feet of living space is not quite enough for many people. Glenn with his tiny house would laugh in our face now.
Okay.
But with the right approach, such a space can look more like a room of requirement. It seems to have all you need, though it's not clear how they fit it all here. See for yourself. This is a rental accommodation for tourists in Johannesburg, South Africa. Here you have 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, even a staircase which is securely hidden in the closet. Ain't it magical? Johannesburg seems to have very resourceful citizens. Here we have another interesting project from there. But where are the houses, you might ask? Here they are. These green containers will soon become apartments. Here's what the container houses look like a few months later. Quite modern, even if not everyone will like it, but you haven't seen the interior yet. Ain't that just like a trendy loft somewhere in New York downtown? Looks very cool and doesn't strike as cheap housing at all, although living here is quite affordable. Well, never judge a house by its facade. Let us guess. That's how you imagine a treehouse, right? In this case, you are in for a surprise. These are also tree houses. This amazing place is located in Kruger National Park in South Africa. That is, in addition to the jacuzzi and the giant bed, like the ones from movies about kings and queens, you also get an amazing view. Well, while having breakfast on the terrace, you might also see a herd of zebras or giraffes. Here's another cool eco-resort from South Africa, a tent where even those who despise camping will surely want to stay. It definitely has everything you need for a comfortable stay, and yes, the jacuzzi is also included. Have you ever seen such things somewhere in the suburban areas? These are silos where farmers prepare and store animal foodstuff. Believe it or not, even this space can be turned into a house. Check out this chic boutique hotel in South Africa. Here, as you can see, you've got everything you need for a comfortable stay. A kitchen, a terrace, a shower room, a king-size bed, and even a small pool. The only rules are you must cook food outside, and you can't smoke inside. That's because the silo emits a large amount of methane. If someone builds a house, even in a silo, then why not build one in a water tower? In California, there's a cozy place for visitors 100 feet above the shore. This tower once belonged to the state. Back in the 19th century, it supplied steam trains with water. Then it was abandoned for several decades, until in 2016, it was purchased by a local millionaire. He converted the tower into a museum and then opened it up to the public, and now you can easily book it on Airbnb. Tell us honestly, would you like to live in such a van? It looks abandoned and depressing, even worse than Eddie's van in the 4th season of Stranger Things, but all you have to do is open the door. Well, everyone would want to live like the guests of this van, but the coolest thing is, of course, a super comfortable bed where you just want to sleep the whole day. Turns out that if you're good with your hands, you can turn even a concrete pipe into a cool house. A couple inspired by the projects of modular houses from Japan proved that. The result looks like a small country house in the best traditions of Airbnb. The best thing is that you can move it to a new place anytime and enjoy a new view. When you look at this house, you might think that some celebrity must be living here. It's so shiny. But in fact, this place was designed by one tough guy from Texas. At some point, he had about 50,000 empty beer cans in his house, and he thought, why not use them for a good cause? This is how the project of a house made from an unusual material was born. It took about 2 decades to build this house. The owner designed it so that he could drink his favorite beverage and not waste time on silly chores. For example, he no longer had to mow the lawn, which simply disappeared after he made a path out of concrete. He didn't have to pay extra for electricity because the aluminium reflected sunlight from the house. The owner no longer lives here, but tourists are happy to rent a beer house for the weekend, replenishing local stocks of aluminium cans. Many people always carry stuff for every occasion in their backpack or bag, but this man reached a whole new level. He carries his own house. Liu Ling Chao, nicknamed Snail Man in China, made his house portable so that it could be moved to different spots. This helps him in his work. Every week, he leaves his small village for a big city, walks for 3 days, collecting garbage along the way, and then sells it for recycling. This house doesn't weigh as much as it might seem, just about 132 pounds, because it's mainly made of bamboo and polyethylene. Inside, you can find dishes, linens, and even a place for cooking. Well, from the outside, it actually looks like some kind of modern art. Any ideas what you might find inside this spaceship? No, not food in tubes and Spartan conditions of living. Quite the contrary, you wouldn't mind spending a weekend in this hotel. And it's not so hard to do that. This eco-capsule is very mobile, so it's up to you to choose the location. At the same time, the owner doesn't depend on the surrounding infrastructure, because the house is powered by solar and wind energy. Share in the comments where you'd like to go in this eco-capsule. Don't worry, the evil stepmother from Snow White does not live in this house. Although it does look like it came straight out of a Disney animated movie. Well, let's peek inside. turns out that there are quite a few people who enjoy living in a forest hut in 2022. Such houses come in different shapes and sizes, but they all have something in common. They all immerse guests into an atmosphere of fabulous comfort. You just have to overcome the fear of dark forests, and you're ready to move in here. From the outside, this house looks like an ordinary dugout. But when we peek inside, we realize Tolkien himself would be delighted to stay here. This house was built by a guy named David from Oregon. Seems like he enjoyed the feeling like a hobbit, despite some inconvenience. For example, there is no refrigerator, so David fills his morning cereal with water, not milk. But does it really matter when you feel like a hero of a fantasy saga all the time? You would probably think twice before entering this strange place. But pop stars, models, and businessmen from all over the world are not afraid of this place. On the contrary, they keep coming here all the time. This unusual space in Mexican Tulum is the Azulik Hotel and the gallery near it. The whole concept of this place is based on the unity of nature and modern architecture, and those who are lucky enough to see it say that inside you feel as if you're in the stomach of a giant whale. Yeah, not everyone can appreciate this place, but it looks quite original. Get ready for what you're about to see. This is a border collie, Sila, and she lives in her own mansion worth $500,000, all because she has a very loving and very rich owner. But he wasn't always wealthy. The guy grew up in a very poor family which neglected him. When he became an adult, he didn't have a penny in his pocket, he didn't have any people close to him, and suffered from an addiction. Then he adopted Sila and became interested in raising and training dogs.
Yo.
Over time, the guy became so good at this that he started teaching other people. Soon, his blog had 1 million followers, and the guy owned a pet store. Then, he was finally able to make his biggest dream come true, to give Sila a happy and comfortable childhood, the one he never had. Now, the dog lives in her own mansion and often receives guests. The house is open to other pets and their loving owners. This house looks more like a building from a movie by Miyazaki or Tim Burton rather than a cozy home. Inside, there's a Vietnamese hotel for tourists, which has been known as the Crazy House for ages. The architects of this unusual building were inspired by the works of the famous Spaniard Antonio Gaudí. But the insane exterior doesn't mean that guests don't have all the basic amenities inside. You can actually spend a vacation here with your whole family and feel quite comfortable, if you're brave enough, of course. From a bird's-eye view, this house looks more like some kind of military structure or an alien ship. That's hardly surprising. After all, this house is made entirely of steel. It took an American artist and sculptor Robert Bruno 30 years to finish it. He chose a scenic place on the ridge of Ransom Canyon in Texas, and in 1974, he started building the home of his dreams, though he didn't live there for long. But today, anyone can stay in this unusual house made of 110 tons of steel. There's enough space inside. The area of the house is about 2,690 square feet. This house doesn't look a lot like a house, although Bilbo Baggins' home was probably built the same way. That's actually a cellar, certainly not like our grandparents would imagine it. A startup from the Netherlands decided to reintroduce this kind of storage space to modern life, only in a new, modernized fashion. This is something like a capsule house buried underground. There, you can keep food fresh for as long as possible, thanks to the perfect microclimate. And our tour is over, buddy. Share in the comments where you'd love to spend your vacation and where you'd want to live for the rest of your life. And don't forget to give us a like, and see you soon.